My name is Sam Kontra and I'm a senior lecturer in law here at Flinders University. Today I'm going to talk a little bit about how I use artificial intelligence in my teaching in a first year topic in law, but it's equally translatable across multiple other disciplines. So my first years come into law knowing very little about the legal system and knowing very little about how to read legal sources like case law and legislation and the secondary sources that support these. One of the assessment tasks I give them fairly early on is a reading task, where I give them several different pieces of law for them to read, as well as a scenario so that they can start thinking about how those sources of law link together and how they might write about these in relation to a real life scenario. The way I use artificial intelligence, particularly ChatGPT in this, is in terms of feedback and some formative exercises. So in terms of giving the students feedback, I run the same scenario through ChatGPT, and in class I get them to mark it. So they look at what ChatGPT has created in relation to these particular documents, and they also look at that in relation to our marking rubric, starting to think about what comes out of ChatGPT, how credible it might be, what exactly they might be able to use it for. It's been very interesting to see their comments because in relation to law, ChatGPT is not very good at giving advice. The next thing that we do is start to talk about what ChatGPT can do and how they use it in their day-to-day lives, which is a whole separate conversation, but can be really interesting to see the diverse uses. The next thing that we do in class is use ChatGPT for various different things. We ask it legal questions about process, can be quite useful. We ask it questions about legal research where it's not quite as good. After we've done all of these things in class as formative exercises, the students then build up to a very large piece of work, a summative piece of work, that's worth quite a large percentage of their grade. Now, this particular assessment is a way for them to show off the skills they've learnt in the topic. They have to do some legal research, they have to read different sources, and they have to write a letter of advice to a client. The way that they do this is by taking on board all of the skills that they've learnt in the topic and using these to create that final piece. One of the things I now do is run this through artificial intelligence first. So using a program like ChatGPT or Google Bard to actually spit out some output that I can then give to the students and have them analyse. I tell the students that they can use this particular output in any way that they'd like. So they can read it and dismiss it because they don't think it's right. They can read it and use it as a point to start their research process, to really make sure that they have some ideas about what they might put into their search engines. They might also use it in a way that acts as a starting point to spark their creativity, to spark their thought processes, but perhaps not give it much credit in terms of its credibility. After they've done the assessment item, they also have to write a reflective piece in relation specifically to how they've used artificial intelligence, so ChatGPT or Google Bard. Now, in terms of using this, they need to think about, was the information provided in this particular output credible? How might they use it in future? So how might they use this particular artificial intelligence to help them generate ideas or help them to do things particularly longer term in their chosen career? Doing this really makes students think about what exactly the tasks are that they'll need to do longer term in their jobs, and really gets them to delve a little bit more deeply into what exactly is going to be expected of them, particularly when they're working with clients. This can also prompt some really interesting dialogue about ethics and about, particularly working in the legal profession, what you can and can't put online, particularly in something like ChatGPT. So I've found this a really useful way for students to engage with ChatGPT in a really supportive environment where they can test its limits with my guidance, and also can compare what comes out of ChatGPT with what they might find on their own and really check that idea of credibility.